Hi everyone, I'm April and you're watching The Tangled Cat Speaks. It is early mid June 2021 and I'm coming to you from Rio Rancho, New Mexico, which is just outside of Albuquerque. I have it's been about a month since I last podcast with you, and if you're new, if you happen to be new, this is primarily a knitting and crochet podcast. I talk about all of the things that I make, planning to make, have started, things that have just been sitting around forever and ever, and I might get back to all of those things that crafters do, you know. And sometimes I talk about reading and books, and I guess that's the same thing, reading and books. And movies or TV shows that I might have seen. Sometimes I talk a little bit about life, but not a whole lot, so don't worry. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. The last time that I was with you all, sorry, I felt a hair on the back of my neck. The last time that I was with you all, I talked about some issues with my gallbladder, excuse me, and I had planned for a surgery. It was already scheduled for the end of June. Well, that didn't happen. I happened to have another gallbladder attack and I ended up in the hospital and they took that out. So I have officially been divorced from my gallbladder. So everything's going well. I'm only been out of the hospital for almost 2 weeks now. Still a little tender, but I'm eating well, I'm moving well. No, I stopped the pain medication several days ago. But I mostly bring it up because when I hold things up, you may see a few of the recovery bruising. Well, not so much on this side, but mostly on this side. But just in case you happen to see that and you wonder what that is, that's what that is. I don't have very good veins and they don't like needles and they retreat. So they had to go through some steps to get my veins to cooperate. So anyway, I'm doing well. I feel much better. That consistent pain that I was having for a very long time that I wasn't sure what it was and should have checked sooner is now gone, and I am super happy about that. I've started a really good eating program to bring down some of the weight. I know that body positivity and all of that kind of thing is a thing. And I am trying to lose weight, but not because of how I look, but because I'm not healthy inside, as healthy as I would like to be. And there are things, you know, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, all of those things I'm very much at a risk for. And I need to fix that because that scared me. Being in the hospital, it really put me in a place where I know I need to get healthy inside and still be okay with everything else as far as, you know, how I look. I've never been really too ashamed of how I look, but I need to be healthy. I'm not a grandma yet, and I really want to be around to be a grandma. So here we go. Enough about that. Let's talk about what I have been doing while I was recovering. I've been knitting a lot of quick knits, and that is all bulky, super bulky yarns. So before I get into those quick knits, I'm going to go ahead and show you a shawl that I did finish, and this was finished well before I ended up in the hospital. So excuse me while I reach over. This was a shawl that I had just started the last time I spoke to you, and it was using yarns that I had dyed myself. And it was worsted weight, and it's all done now. I haven't tucked in the ends, but yeah. So there's that center cable down the spine, and there are my eyelets. The green is all garter, and the multicolored blue and orange is stockinette. And it wasn't a pattern that I used, it was just using my own memories of how to make a triangular shawl. Having done so many over the years, this is what I came up with, and I love it. And it blocked out really huge. I wasn't expecting it to get quite this big. I was thinking it was going to be more of a shawlette, not quite a cowl size, but not quite this big, but it is huge. It's got, let's see, my wingspan is 63 inches, and this is how much I've got left on either side. Don't look at the ends. They don't exist. But I mean, so this is what, a good almost 75 at least inches across. Did I say centimeters? Inches? Inches. Inches. And I would say maybe a good 22 down the center. It's very big, and it's, even though it's worsted weight, it's very lightweight. It doesn't feel heavy. And it's gonna be perfect for the cooler days to wear it like this, which is how I normally wear my shawls. I can tie it, let's see, you know, or I can just flop it around like I do. You know, I think I have it on backwards. Oh no, I don't. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I love it. This is perfect. This will be beautiful for fall. Definitely some fall colors going on there. Actually, that green is kind of more spring, summer, but I think overall it comes off as a fall shawl. All right, big and bulky. That's what I was doing. I wanted things that were gonna fly off the needles. I wanted something that was mindless and something that I didn't have to concentrate too much on. So the first things that I did, actually these might have been done before I ended up in the hospital. But again, this is where I started with needing some quick knits. So these are bulky weight socks, and I'll have to put the name on the name of the pattern and the name of the designer up here. But these are called foot ovens, and I believe it was a free pattern. And what I did on this was hold 3 strands of fingering weight to get a bulky weight. Now this yarn here was 120 grams, and I believe it was it Mineville wool? I think it was Mineville wool, and it was I know it was 120 grams, and I basically separated that into 3 balls. So each ball ended up being, what is that? 40 grams each, and held them all together. So all of this is one colorway held 3 times. Does that make sense? Now what I did for the contrast color, I'll have to get a little bit closer. This is 3 different colors of some leftover sock yarns. One is a pale gray. It's probably not going to even see it, but there's a pale gray and a very pale green. Maybe you could see it there. And then there's a very pale pink. The green and gray are both from Pandia's Jewels. The pink is one that I got from Hobie. And I don't remember the colors of the names. They're just some that I had little balls of. And I held those 3 together, and I think it works out really well. Kind of Christmassy. Now this pattern for the foot oven is just called for a regular short row heel, but I do like a heel flap and gusset. But these were toe up. I chose toe up because I wasn't sure how much I was going to have of the main color. It was Judy's, is it Judy? No. Yeah, Judy's Magic Cast On? For DPNs, I was using DPNs. But the heel that I used is a heel flap and gusset. But it's hard to find one that it's done toe up. So you can see there isn't any texturing on this heel. I'll have to put the link. I don't usually put things down below because I'm lazy. But there is a link that I used. I found a website of someone who did the heel flap and gusset for toe up, and there's some calculations you have to do based on your gauge and your needle size and your stitch count, everything. So there's a little bit of math that goes along there, but it's not difficult math. And she did, you know, I did all the calculations according to what my gauge and everything that I had gotten in the foot. And so I did those calculations and ended up with this really cool heel flap and gusset style heel. I love it. I don't care that this isn't like slip stitches the way most heel flap and gussets are, because I don't wear my socks out in my heels. A lot of times I tend to wear clogs, and these are pretty much going to be for around the house anyway, so they're not going to get a lot of wear at the back of the heel. So that turned out great, and I love them. They're super cozy. So you will probably catch me wearing these around Christmas time with some hot chocolate. Or eggnog. And let's see, so that was the kickoff to all my bulky shenanigans. And I don't remember the needle size I used on that, but I can also put that up here. All right, so if you follow me on Instagram, which on Instagram I am the Tangled Cat. If you want to find me on Ravelry, it's I am the Tangled Cat. I'll put those up here as well. A while back, several years ago, I can't remember, 4 or 5 years ago maybe, one of my coworkers, my best friend, her husband had gone down to Santiago, Chile for business, and while he was there he bought his wife some yarn, he bought my friend some yarn, and he decided he was going to bring some back for me as well. So that was very, very kind of him. I'll have to put a picture up here of the beginning of one of these projects because I didn't take a picture of them beforehand, but it was 3 cakes. It was already caked up of super bulky wool, very red, and there were no labels whatsoever. I weighed them when I started to use them. They were about 100 grams each. I had no labels. I had no clue what the yardage was, so I pulled out 2 yards and I weighed that, and that gave me 2 grams. So I tried it again. I doubled that and did 4 yards, got 4 grams. I tried it one more time and I did 6 yards and I got 6 grams. So I figured it was a yard a gram. So 100 grams, I had about 100 yards per cake. Still didn't know what I was going to do with it because I didn't actually know if it was bulky or super bulky. So I went with bulky, just kind of eyeballing it. I didn't think to do the WPI until after I was already almost done with the yarn. Anyway, so I went and I searched for a cowl pattern, and what I found was called the cowl. And I should have thought then, because when I cast on what they said to cast on using US 10.5 needles, 6.5 millimeter. When I cast it on, it was huge, and I'm like, that's not right. So I didn't even think that it was the size of the yarn. I just was like, whatever, I can adjust this. So I took off several stitches and brought it to what this is. And it's all it is it's done in the round. And it's 2x2 rib the whole way. I did a long tail cast on and just a regular bind off. It's easier to not make your stitches tight, your bind off stitches tight when you're working with really huge needles because they're awkward anyway. So I didn't worry about going up a needle size to bind off or to do a extra stretchy bind off. You can see that's stretchy all the way, but it just kind of worked out that way. So it was cool. But look at this red, look. And if you look up close, it's actually got flecks of white or maybe a light gray. And it's a little, I guess for some very sensitive people, this would be really itchy, but for me, it's not itchy whatsoever. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So this stands up pretty well on its own, but you can kind of lay it down and it'll fit under your coat. And look at that. Ooh, it kind of looked like Queen Elizabeth with her big collars. And so let's see, that didn't even use an entire cake, so I had plenty left over. So I thought, okay. Well, I didn't make it actually as tall. This is 5 inches, and I think it called for 12. I'm like, that would bury me. I don't really have a long neck. That would totally bury me. This is perfect. So I definitely didn't even end it where they said. Anyway, so I love it. So I decided to start some mitts. Now, these are called mitts for Juliet. And again, they were under the bulky search parameter. And I did it again on the 6.5 millimeter. And they are actually stockinette, but because this was ribbed and I kind of wanted them to match, this is the same yarn, I converted it to rib. Wasn't difficult. Now I definitely, you can see I made the hand longer. The finger part would have come to about right there, but I like long ones. And they don't look like they would fit any normal human being. But because it's rib, it's stretchy, and I like my gloves, mitts to be really close, like there's no air getting in there. And it covers most of my fingers, most of my thumb. I made the thumb longer too. Oh, just pretend you didn't see the end. But I can always fold this down if I need to. I probably most likely won't because my middle finger sticks out enough for me to do if I need to. And I could tuck my fingers in. So, and they don't look like the same thing, but they are. And, okay, I'm getting warm. Oh, I gotta take this beautiful thing off. And I'm not gonna put this next one on because we don't want to see me have to redo my, actually maybe I will. I did a beanie. And this was a 2x2 rib hat, I think is what it's called. And all of the patterns I'll put up here like I usually do. And again, I still didn't take into consideration the weight of the yarn. I thought this was still bulky, and I had to go, I made the child size, and it fits perfect. All right, I'm going to take this down and pop this on. And it makes me laugh when I put it on. It fits. It's going to be nice and warm. And I'll have a whole set of red woolies for winter. Oh, so excuse me, I'm gonna put my hair back up. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and I still had yarn left. Those were the first 3 cakes. I used one cake for each project, so hat, and then was one cake, the mitts were one cake, and the cowl was the other, and I had a little bit left from each one. So I thought, well, I'm going for a matching theme here. What else am I going to make? And I didn't want socks because these were things that I was actually going to wear outside, and I wasn't going to be able to wear these bulky socks inside any of my shoes. So I thought leg warmers, and that's where I got started. And this I just kind of guesstimated. There's not a pattern for this. And again, just 2x2 rib in the round. And then I got to about here, and I thought, well, what if I make them into more like spats? So it would cover a little bit of the top of the front, top part of your shoe. And I decided to, from this point, instead of knitting in the round, I started knitting flat. So back and forth. And I did that for a few rows. I think it was 7 rows, but with super bulky. This is where I figured out it was super bulky. I decided I'm gonna do the WPI. I don't know why I waited so long. On the 4th project, I decided I was gonna check. So it ended up being super bulky. Still no name, no information on it. But anyway, so I did this split. So this split is gonna go to the back of the leg, and then that will cause this flat part, or this part here, to lay on the, if this was my foot, which I'm not gonna be able to do it, but this is the leg, this is sort of the heel and the front of the ankle, and then the top of your shoe. So it's gonna have the split right here, and then it'll lay. I'll have to take some pictures. But I figured it would look kind of cool, you know, especially if I was wearing maybe like capri style pants in the winter, because of course you would wear those in the winter. And you know, I have some Mary Jane shoes. These could go over the top and cover my ankle, my lower leg. This is about as long as a normal sock. Comes to just to where my calf starts to widen out. And then this would just cover a little bit of the top of my foot. And then I could still have normal size socks inside my shoe. So like warmer slash spats. And believe it or not, I still had a little bit left. Not a whole lot. I had about 6 grams left. So I decided to crochet a little cat toy. All of the ends that I had from each of those projects, I saved. Well, not so much that I saved. I didn't tuck in any of the ends or anything like that until I was done with everything. So after I was done, I said, oh, cat toy, and just stuff it with that. So that's what I did. It's not like I pre-planned this. It's a little rough right now because I did already let my cat play with it. Emrys was going to town. But it's just crocheted, and I used a J hook. I don't remember the millimeter of the J hook, but I can put it up here. And this was the indoor snowball party pattern. And all of these, the hat, the mitts, and the cowl are all free. And this was free. And I used the small size. She's got, I think, small, medium, and large size snowballs is what she calls them. And but I ended up using it as a cat toy. So while I was stuffing it, I also added a little bit of catnip, and he loved it. So lots and lots and lots of things read. That's what I've been doing. That's all of my finished projects, but that is a lot for those 3 cakes. I got a lot of stuff, and it's amazing. So in between all of that, of course, I've been dreaming and planning and scheming. And so let's go ahead and go into future, as in, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to get started on some of it, projects. So I decided I was going to make Christmas projects. I'm also making some cardigans for all my kids. I'm scared about. I'm very nervous. I did mention I was starting one a while back, but I decided all 3 kids were going to go ahead and get those. So I'm going to get started on those soon because I really want them to be done for winter. But I also thought I wanted, like I said, I don't have grandchildren. My sister has grandchildren, so my great nieces and nephew. I thought I was going to make them some toys. And then it just so happened that Mary Beth and Helen from the Crafty Toads, Toad Hollow NJ is their yarn dyeing website. They decided they were going to do their Tri-Wizard tournament. They do it every year, June, July, August. And they don't tell you till the last minute what the project is going to be. And this one time was a little bit different. It was more of a theme as opposed to an actual pattern. And their theme for June is stuffies. And so I was like, well, I was going to make gifts anyway. So I found a pattern, and I'll put a picture up here. It's called Yeti, Spaghetti, and Meatball. They're little monsters, little Yetis, and they're adorable. And they call for different, there's the instructions have, you can use, it's instructions all in one for fingering, worsted, and then I think probably more like an Aran weight. I'm going to do the Aran weight. But what I have is in words, Toad Hollow DK, which in most other situations, Toad Hollow, I mean, this is 231 yards per 100 grams. In most cases, at least with knit picks, that's the worsted. So I'm gonna, look at that color. I'm gonna use the worsted with a mohair to hopefully bump it up a little bit to an Aran. So this color, as I showed you, Into the Sunset. One of my great nieces loves peach. Now I didn't have peach, but I thought this was yellow and orange, and I could hold it with a pink mohair and it would give it an overall peachy color. That's my hope. That's my estimate, my hopefully educated guess on how colors work. So I'm going to hold these together. And this is just Knit Picks Aloft. And what is it called? Blush. And I'm shaking, my goodness. And then the next one is also Toad Hollow DK. And I ordered it as Fish Footman. That's what they have on their website. But when I got it, I'm not sure if this was something, if they an old label or they, I don't know, maybe they changed the name and I didn't realize. But here it says every adventure starts with a first step. But again, I ordered Fish Footman, and this is the color they had for Fish Footman. So I don't know if it's just a labeling thing, but my other great niece loves purple. And this does have purple in it, but it's also got a lot of teal and gray. And it's so beautiful. But to bump it up to a little bit more closer to an Aran, I'm gonna hold it with the Knit Picks Aloft in Eggplant. So that's gonna add more to the purple. And the next one is actually, I think it's more like an Aran weight, maybe a bulky, but this one is for my great nephew, and his favorite color is green. And again, it is Toad Hollow, and this one is called Dread Pirate Henry. And so there's greens, some browns, and I'm gonna hold this with this. I don't think this is gonna take over too much because this yarn is significantly heavier than what this is. This is just probably just gonna add a little bit of green fuzz, but this is the Kenai. And I hope this works. If I don't like it, I do have some brown that I can use and maybe just kind of brown it up a little bit. But I do want the fuzziness because they're Yetis. So we'll see how that goes. I don't have any other green, or I could just use like an oatmeal color that I have as well. But I'm gonna try the green first and see if I like it. And I just got, I just ordered the safety eyes for the pattern recommends an Etsy shop for the safety eyes. That's what she used in hers, so she put that in her pattern, and that's where I ordered mine from. But instead of like the photo shows with all black eyes, which I think are adorable, so cute, I thought I was gonna go ahead and get colored eyes. So I got purple eyes for the purple Yeti, and orange eyes for the peach Yeti, and green eyes for the green Yeti. So I'm waiting for those to come in from the Etsy shop, and I will put the name of that Etsy shop up here. And let's see, I just got the polyfill. I don't make stuffies. I'm not a stuffy making kind of person. I did it one time, but it's not my thing. It's not my favorite thing, but I was in the mood to make gifts for them. So stuffies. So I got the polyfill, and I also got the felt for the faces, and I already have embroidery floss, so I'm super excited. So that's my immediate future plans. A little bit not quite so immediate, but kind of, because I want to wear it for summer, is this pattern here. And I am going to, I just ordered a little bit recently from Expression Fiber Arts. And this is called Luster Sport, which is 50% superwash merino and 50% lyocell. So I'm some sort of plant fiber. And the colorway is called Ecstatic. Now the color I'm gonna show you is not what I got in the mail, because when I ordered it, and this is nothing, I'm not upset, I'm not talking bad about Expression Fiber Arts. Shandy, I believe it's her name. She does beautiful work. And I've always loved, excuse me, got a tickle. Always loved everything I've ever ordered from her. This time, not so much, but I was kind of expecting it just because yellow. The color that I ordered was mostly a cream base with speckles of blues and yellows and browns and beiges. But the picture showed predominantly the creamy base. What I got in the mail was, it wasn't so much speckled. The colors kind of more blended together or bled together. It wasn't as crisp speckly as the photo had showed. So there was hardly any of the creamy underbase, under color of the yarn. So I didn't particularly like it. It looked kind of like a dirty yellow overall, and then there was some blues. I wasn't happy with it, and I get it. I get it. Like I said, I'm not upset, and I didn't complain, and I didn't ask her, you know, none of that. I get it. That's what happens when you buy yarn from an indie hand dyer. It's gonna happen. It's not always gonna match what you think, because it's hard. You've got one person having to do the coloring, and it's not always gonna be machine standard uniformity. So I get it, and that's, you know, I've done it before. I've bought something from indie dyers, and like, I loved it in the picture, but I didn't so much love it in real life, and that's fine. So what I did was I got some Jacquard acid dyes that I had in my cabinet from a while back when I used to dye more regularly, and I dipped them all in blue and then kind of splashed a little bit of black. So this is the color that I ended up with. And actually it's showing much more blue, bright blue, than what it really is. It's more of a grayish, it's showing brighter than what it is, but it's kind of more like on a grayed down blue. You can't really tell. It's this wall, I think, or my camera. Blues are always hard on the camera, but this is what I ended up with. So it's definitely more blue. There is some of the yellows coming through. A lot of the yellows turned green, which I love green. There's some of those browns that were in there, and you can see some of the black, the darker bits. It's not, I didn't use a whole lot of black, just enough to give it a variation. There's a little more black there. But I'm gonna make that summer top. If I haven't already put it up there, I don't remember if I did or not, or if I mentioned it, but I'll put the summer top up here, and it's just a short sleeve, lightweight top, and I'm excited. So that might come maybe concurrently, you know, as I'm doing the Yetis. So super excited about that. I do have other things that I started and haven't finished while I was recovering, and there are a few things that I was working on previously and just haven't gotten back to in this last month, so I'm not even going to bring those out. So as far as the knitting, let me look around, check everything. Yep, that's it. That's all I've got as far as the knitting. I did do some watching TV a little bit. Mostly I was catching up on podcasts or reading. Little bit of reading, mostly audiobooks, but I slept a lot, so there wasn't a whole lot of television. Let's see, I watched The Bad Batch, which is a Star Wars show on Disney. I watched The Bad Batch, really liked it. I don't think I cared for it as much as I liked the Clone Wars animated series, but I really liked it. What else? I've been watching Debris on Hulu, which is kind of like a sci-fi. I don't know if you ever saw the show Fringe, or it's kind of like, excuse me, like an X-Files. It's all of these things that are happening because of a piece of debris that came from outer space that landed, and weird things happen. So I've been enjoying that. I think I'm pretty much caught up on it. Let's see, I watched Shadow and Bone a finished that, loved it. I watched Mayor of Easttown, finished that, loved it. Yay, Kate Winslet. Let's see, what else? I don't know. I can't recall what else I've watched. I know I've watched a couple of other things, but that's basically it. Let's see, as far as books, I listened to 2 audiobooks. I realized the last time that I had mentioned the Agatha Raisin series by MC Beaton, and I went to look and there were 2 books that I hadn't gotten to, 2 of the most recent. So, excuse me, I listened to those. They were called Beating Around the Bush, and then Hot to Trot is the most recent one. Now, I think I'm going to stop with this series. I've loved it forever. I've just adored it. But MC Beaton, otherwise known as Marion Chesney, has passed away. She passed away, I think, midway or somewhere during Beating About the Bush, or Beating Around the Bush, and somebody else kind of stepped in, finished it. I don't know if she was still alive and approved stuff or didn't approve, or however, but it was a different tone. This last book, Hot to Trot, was solely somebody else. Still giving credit to MC Beaton, and I was disappointed. Mostly because this person, whoever wrote it, changed the dynamics of the characters. Like, where one character was normally okay, so say for the main character, she was normally just very in your face, aggressive, to the point, you know, she was brusque, she could be rude, but she was also very kind and sweet. And I found that in this last book, she was less brusque. The thing that made her Agatha Raisin, the thing that made her funny, was her sarcasm and her bitterness. But she was also a bitterness at being being middle-aged. You know, she's older, and then she's got a co-worker who's much younger, and she a lot of times feels that little pang of jealousy that she's not young. Anyway, a lot of these things, that was not quite as prominent as it was, and that was what made Agatha Raisin Agatha Raisin, was her sharp wit and her little biting sarcasm and stuff. And it just wasn't, it didn't feel the same. She almost seemed softer, like she was more of a go out and just do things and was reckless, where this last book she was much more cautious, much more helpless. They kind of made her a little more of a helpless female. Not entirely, but she was definitely not the independent person that she was in the other books. I mean, she always got into trouble and she always ended up needing to be rescued, but she didn't start out timid. And she was a little more timid in this one, and I didn't really care for the flavor of it. So I don't think I'm going to continue with this series. R.I.P. to MC Beaton, Marion Chesney. She gave me many years of wonderful reading with Agatha Raisin, and she also had the Hamish Macbeth series, another cozy mystery series with a Scottish policeman as the lead, and I just adore those. I'm pretty much caught up with the Hamish Macbeth. I think I'm gonna try reading the next one that comes out, and just to see if it's that same, if whoever is taking over the writing does it in this, you know, I don't know if it's the same person that's taking over for both Hamish and Agatha, or if it's 2 different people, or if it's each book is always a different person. I don't know how that works. But I'm going to give that one a go just to see if it's still going to continue as the characters should be, or if it's going to do a little switch up the way it did in Agatha Raisin. So a little bit sad about that, but it's kind of expected when you've got a completely different voice behind the characters. So, and you know, 20 plus books for each of those series, it's very impressive. So again, R.I.P. MC Beaton, Marion Chesney. So what I went on to next, I kind of put the I had mentioned that I've been doing Star Wars novels. I kind of put that on the backside because I wanted to start this new series, new to me series called The Prince of Nothing, and by R. Scott, I think it's Baker. I'm not sure. There's 2 K's, so it throws me off. So I wanted to start that, and they're fantasy, but they're kind of a darker fantasy, and the books are really big, according to what I've been told on a Discord that I follow through Mike's book reviews here on YouTube. I've mentioned him before. I joined his Discord, and they're doing some of the people on his Discord are doing a read along of this series. So I was interested because for me, fantasy was the heaviest fantasy. I would say would probably be Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. And from what I understand, this is a really good series, but it can be rather dark. So I thought, oh, I'm going to go ahead and read this series along with everyone else. And I know that there's people who have read it already who are going to also be on the Discord to offer any kind of guidance without giving spoilers. So that's kind of exciting. And so the first book is called The Darkness That Comes Before. And we started it June 1st, and I'm already behind. I'm just now starting chapter 3. So, but that's okay. We have the whole month to finish it, and I can do this. I got it. And so far I'm really, really enjoying it. There is a lot of, it's very wordy in a good way. It's very descriptive, and you can really see, you know, they're drawing really good imagery. A lot of the pictures in my mind are very clear. So I enjoy that, but it does slow it down a little bit, you know, which is fine. So I started that, and I also started and finished, I don't have it with me, Congo by Michael Crichton, because I'm still doing the once a month Michael Crichton book. So we just did Congo, and I haven't read it. I have never read it before. I've seen the movie, and I liked the movie at the time when it came out, however many years ago. But now that I read the book, and then I rewatched the movie right after, because I read the book in 2 days. Yeah, that book, that movie was very different than the book. And while it was still entertaining as a movie, as an adaptation, fail. But I loved the book. It was so fast-paced and scary and exciting. And as is in all Michael Crichton stories, he always adds some history or some science knowledge. In this case, a lot of tech knowledge. Very, very more, he's always very science fiction. I think would be categorized as science fiction. But this one is very adventure too, and it was a thriller. It was just, I really, really enjoyed it. It went way too fast, the book did, and had a really, really good time with it. The last thing that I want to talk about is super exciting because I haven't really been in to browse my local library in quite a while. I think they opened up for browsing maybe a month ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, but I hadn't really gone in to browse. I put a couple of books on hold, gone, picked it up, and left. Gone in to pick it up, not even just curbside. But my local library does a summer reading program for children, teens, and adults. And this particular one for the summer, well, I think it's actually just for a month and a half. They started now on June 7th, and it's to read at least 2 books, and then you're eligible for weekly prizes. So then you just log your books on this online site that they send you to. But there's also a community read, and this can be the book that you add towards your reading log with the summer reading program. And it was on hummingbirds when they sent out the newsletter. I was super excited because it gave the title of the book, and I was like, I want to read about hummers. I love hummers. So this was the book that is the community read. Now, they said they had several copies. Just come pick one up. So I went and I picked it up, but I picked up a few other books. And when I went to check them out on the self-checkout machine, this one didn't read. And it turns out they basically give this to you. They gave it to me, and it was like, there was a little note. I don't have it here anymore, but there's a little note that said, when you're done reading, pass it on to a friend, or you can bring it back and it can be ready for another patron. So I'm like, they literally just gave this book away. And it's US $20 book, and but it's about hummers, and it's very small. And I just started it, and it's so far it looks like it's about they found some baby hummingbirds that were only days old, super tiny, the size of a bee, each one the size of a bumblebee, and they're trying to bring them back with their health and everything to let them go. But there's glossy pictures in here. The only hard part is it's a very tiny print. I mean, the hummers are tiny. I guess the print has to be tiny too. So I'm like, I need my glasses. But I was super excited. So I will definitely be taking this back whenever I'm done. I'm going to take it back to them so that somebody else who wants to be part of the community read can take part in this, because it is free, but I'm not going to keep it. That's just too much of a gift. I'm going to give it back so that so somebody else can have the joy of this wonderful gift as well. So super excited. But like I said, while I was there, they had, like they usually do, they have themes and set out on tables and shelves and stuff where it's like a theme of books and different things. And this one was underwater stuff. And so I saw this one just kind of standing there, and I thought, oh, it looks scary and informative at the same time. Kraken, the curious, exciting, and slightly disturbing science of squid. There's the author. And I thought, huh, it sounds funny because just of the way that they worded that title, but it also sounds like it could be kind of, you know, informative in more of a narrative kind of way as opposed to a textbook kind of way. So I'm super excited about that. And it's not very big, so it's something that I can just throw in between, kind of like okay, I gotta decompress from whatever I just read in that fantasy book. I gotta, whoa. And then another one that I really wanted is Rudolfo Anaya. They had this on a mystery themed table. And Rudolfo Anaya is a native New Mexican. And this is a mystery called Zia Summer. It looks like it's about a private detective, and it is set in Albuquerque. So very excited about that. Again, I love finding books that are set in my local area. It's just really cool to see places that you recognize in a book. So that's there. That might take me a little bit longer. We'll see, but I do love, the only other book that I read by him was Bless Me Ultima. And because I love mysteries, I was super excited to find this one there on that mystery themed table. And then this one, how do you say her name? I don't even know. Part of it is covered up so I can't see. This one was just kind of under like another fantasy type of thing, and it looks more like a young adult kind of thing. Aliette de Bedard is the author, and I had to get that from inside where right here, because they covered it up here. But it's Fireheart Tiger. Let's open this. Fireheart Tiger. And it looks kind of like a young adult fantasy type thing. Maybe it's not technically young adult, but just the way that it's talking about a young princess makes me think more young adulty. But it's rather short. It's not even 150 pages. Yes, barely 100 pages. So it's gonna go quick, and I do love my young adult stories. So I got those, and I was super excited to walk out of the library with actual books. I was so happy. So that is what I've got for reading. I don't really have much else to share with you right now. So thank you for spending some time with me and watching my straps just keep sliding down my sloped shoulders. So thank you for spending some time with me, and I hope that you have been having a wonderful end of May, beginning of June. I hope that the rest of your month also is just as wonderful. And please like, comment, subscribe. I don't get a whole lot of comments, but I do enjoy them, and I will respond. So again, thank you for showing up, and I hope to see you again next time.